Hello everybody and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video we will be talking about my first election prediction and possibly only between Joe Biden and Doug Burgum. So just yesterday, the governor of North Dakota, Doug Burgum, announced his candidacy for president. He's I guess the newest candidate for president. He beats Mike Pence by a couple hours, I think. But until a few weeks ago, no one expected Doug Burgum to run for president. He was the last person people would think would run for president. I mean, he's the governor of North Dakota, such a low population state, not prominent in the National Governors Association or anything. So this was a big surprise, and he hadn't made no hints towards it or anything. But he is in the race. I don't know how, what I could add to that, but he is a candidate for president now. His campaign is serious. I mean, he does have a lot of campaign cash. I mean, he's a businessman. So he is he is serious about this thing. He's the real deal. So this is the first election prediction between Doug Burgum and Joe Biden. And as I said, maybe only depending on when he withdraws. I will be doing Chris Christie versus Joe Biden very soon, and I hope to do a Mike Pence versus Joe Biden very soon, because I only think we did Mike Pence like once. And now that he's officially in the race, we need to. So let's get started with Joe Biden's safe states. So these states, safe states, are states that will be decided by a 15% or larger margin. That is California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Illinois, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, Maine's 1st Congressional District, and for the first time in a long time, or maybe ever, I don't know, Colorado. Colorado has been trending blue, and I mean, we will talk about Doug Burgum a lot during this video, but I don't feel that Doug Burgum will be very strong with, these independent voters that you've got to win over to win the presidency and to win states. I mean, Doug Burgum is only going to be very strong, like among white, rural, Christian, mostly voters. I mean, he's not going to appeal to Gen Z voters or maybe like, these populists like progressives any at all. I mean, Joe Biden won't for a lot of these groups either, but Doug Burgum really will not. Now let's get characterize our safe Burgum states. That's Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska large, Nebraska's first, Nebraska's third. At least Doug Burgum has some Midwestern appeal. Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and I mean, honestly, Alaska is probably safe because rural voters, I think Doug Burgum would do very well among. I really do. So I do think that Alaska will vote for Doug Burgum by a safe margin. So that puts Joe Biden at 191 electoral votes, Doug Burgum at 116 to 31 are toss-up. So as you can see, as most of the time, Joe Biden does have a big lead after safe states. So now let's characterize our likely states. These states will be decided by a 5 to 15% margin, so a bit closer, but we probably know who they're going to vote for. But still, this matchup is interesting, so we can't really say anything is for sure. Let's start with Joe Biden. Virginia, frankly, I don't think will be very close at all. I think that Doug Burgum would do maybe a couple points worse than Donald Trump. I don't see any reason why Doug Burgum would do better in Virginia. And Doug Burgum really doesn't have any Southern appeal. I mean, the Republican voting bloc is a lot more diverse than it is in North Dakota. Okay, I mean, with Latinos and Republican voters in big cities like in Florida, like Miami-Dade County. Young voters and old voters, that plays a huge part. It's just not the same as it is like in the Midwest and North Dakota. So Doug Burgum won't be anything special in the South. I mean, Donald Trump is a phenomenal candidate in the South because of all those reasons. He can unite all of those Republican voting blocs that I just mentioned. But yeah, I don't know why I'm really talking about this right now. None of these states will be going likely for Joe Biden. But what will be going likely for Joe Biden? I mean, yes, Minnesota is a Midwestern state, but it's still Democratic. Doug Burgum is not some special candidate. Still very unknown. I don't see it for Doug Burgum, to be completely honest. New Mexico, too, another very Democratic state. I don't know where Doug Burgum is going with this. Maine at large, too. And then we have a state like Michigan, where we're getting into the Rust Belt. Does Doug Burgum have any white working class voter appeal? White work, whatever. And I don't feel that he really will. I mean, Trump won these voters in 2016 because he was an anti-establishment candidate. He said drain the swamp, and that won him these voters. But Doug Burgum, he is not all that much of an anti-establishment candidate. Let's just get that straight. He is probably an establishment candidate. He's got the money. Some people are supporting him from the establishment. So, more of a safe type of candidate. So, he won't fare well in the blue wall, really. And that will probably be a major struggle for him. But I don't think Pennsylvania will be likely. That's going to be it. Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, that's it. Now we will get the likely states for Doug Burgum. So definitely Iowa. He'll do just as well as Trump did here. I mean, sure, it's a Rust Belt state, but it is a Midwestern state. White Christian voters, he'll do fine. South Carolina, 2 Republican to go. Otherwise, and wow, that's it. Okay, so Biden is at 236, Burgum is at 131, so Biden is crushing Burgum by 105 electoral votes. Now we are on to lean states. So these states will be decided by a 1 to 5% margin. So these ones are pretty close. Starting with Joe Biden, I think Joe Biden wins Nebraska's 2nd district. I think that Doug Burgum does better here than Trump. It is a Midwestern state. I mean, he will do pretty well there. And then we have the blue wall. Pennsylvania, I think, goes to Biden by a lean margin. And, quite frankly, Wisconsin. I don't feel that Doug Burgum really has any appeal in a lot of these states. I mean, as I mentioned, the anti-establishment candidates, I mean, it's not like they're going to turn out for Joe Biden, but for Republicans to win, they need those voters. Democrats don't really, because, I mean, Democrats still outnumber Republicans in these states. We have to remember that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, in the suburbs, especially in Pennsylvania, who's voting for Doug Burgum? I don't really know. No one knows him, too. That's another thing. He's not like a familiar name with anyone. So that's going to hurt him in the general. They'll be like, who is this guy running for president? New Hampshire definitely is a lean state, if not likely, but it is overwhelmingly white, pretty conservative, kind of center-right, so I felt that they aligned with Doug Burgum politically. He could make it a little closer. And then, yeah, Nevada is a pretty diverse state. As I said, Burgum really won't do well in these diverse states. Nevada probably goes lean for Biden. So, Joe Biden has won with his New Hampshire and Nevada wins. He's at 276 now into lean Burgum states. I mean, it is a very diverse state, and he would have a lot of trouble winning Republican Latino voters. But we do have to remember it is still kind of like a center-right state. So Texas, I feel, will go to Doug Burgum. Plus, there are a lot of rural voters in Texas. I mean, there's kind of not anymore, but there still is a large block of rural voters that would turn out for Doug Burgum. So I feel that Texas would go to Burgum by maybe 2 or 3 points, but it will be very narrow. Geez, this is kind of tough. Oh my god, I forgot a lean Biden state. That's Georgia. keeps Georgia. I mean, it's not like Doug Burgum, like, he would do okay. But name recognition, number one. Number two, it's another state where there are some African American and Latino Republican voters, another diverse state. It's not overwhelmingly white like North Dakota. Burgum would have trouble winning those voters. So I think that Biden wins Georgia by a lean margin. Now back to lean Burgum states. Ohio, I mean, Trump made it so partisan Republican, so overwhelmingly Republican. I think he hangs on, and just because Maine's second is rural, I'll give it to Doug Burgum by a lean margin. The last three states, I think, are tilt margins. So Biden has already won, but the last three are tilt. So I think that Florida, so less than 1%. I think that Florida and Arizona both go to Burgum. Both are very diverse, and that would be a minus for Doug Burgum. That would be a negative for him, and something that Trump had that he did not, uniting these conservative-minded minorities. But then again, Arizona is a very moderate Republican state, and Florida has just become so Republican over the few years, and frankly, Democrats are not very encouraged to vote. So I feel that somehow Doug Burgum wins in Florida. And then North Carolina, I think Biden flips by a tilt margin, pretty narrow just because there are a lot of Republicans, but, for the same reasons as all the other states. So I think that Joe Biden wins this election with 308 electoral votes. Doug Burgum wins 230. Not a landslide victory, but definitely a pretty solid win for the president. I feel that really Doug Burgum's main challenge is the fact that he comes from North Dakota and no one really knows who he is. I mean, that will be the biggest hurdle that he has to overcome. But maybe with his money, he can do something about that. So thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That would help out a lot. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.